By 2025, the question on everyone's lips is chillingly simple. Are we truly hurtling toward the end of the world that Nostradamus foretold half a millennium ago? Picture a planet scorched by record-shattering heat waves and smoke-choked skies, a fragile humanity teetering under the specter of ever-resurgent pandemics, and governments convulsing in the face of geopolitical tremors. Against this backdrop, the name Michel de Nostradamus, known to history as Nostradamus, rises like a ghostly chorus, his 942 quatrains in Les Prophecies whispering warnings of fiery cataclysms, celestial portents, and power shifts that mirror our headlines today. Weaving between stark analysis and haunting narrative, we invite you to journey through his most startling visions, from infernos that consume entire regions to eerie celestial displays splitting the sky in two, from hidden betrayals of untouchable empires to the shattered towers that once symbolized human ambition. Each quatrain is a puzzle piece, each syllable laced with both poetic beauty and uncanny precision. As we dive into the top 7 predictions that have already materialized, some in flames, others in the tremors of our modern world, you'll feel the tension build to an electric climax, the line between legend and reality blurring with every revelation. Yet, amidst the drama, we remain anchored, in fact. We'll update you on the latest climate data, the newest viral strains, and the freshest intelligence on global unrest, ensuring this story remains as alive and urgent as the world around us. Strap yourself in for a suspenseful odyssey through time, where Nostradamus' ancient verses may hold the key to understanding our precarious present and the uncertain future that lies just beyond the horizon. Born in 1503 in the sun-baked hills of Saint-de-Provence, Michel de Nostradamus was first celebrated not as a prophet but as a healer, a physician, an apothecary whose swirls of herbal concoctions and early antiseptic baths rescued thousands from the ravages of plague long before modern medicine grasped its potential. Yet, as Europe teetered on the veils between faith, superstition, and nascent science, Nostradamus felt the pulse of a world in transformation and, in the twilight of his life, set aside his basal tinctures to pour every ounce of his vision into less 100 centuria, each teeming with roughly 9 quatrains, 4-line poems that dance between the cryptic and the lyrical, became his legacy. He named no monarchs, no nations. Instead, he cloaked his warnings in symbols and numbers, images of allegory intended to outlast kings, empires, and the shifting sands of time. Today, as we sift through the headlines, record-shattering heat waves scorching the Arctic permafrost, unprecedented megafires in the Amazon basin, fresh viral emergences from remote wet markets, and tectonic shifts in geopolitics, we cannot help but sense a shiver of recognition in his words. Modern climatologists warn that 2025 may bring the hottest average global temperature yet recorded, a reality that snaps our attention back to his quatrains, describing forests aflame and skies choked with ash. Epidemiologists track the evolution of zoonotic diseases with mounting dread, echoing his verses that spoke of strange sickness slipping silently across borders, even in the corridors of power, where world leaders debate nuclear treaties and drone warfare. Analysts note unnerving parallels with Nostradamus' visions of unseen weapons and sudden betrayals. And so, before we plunge into the blazing tapestry of his first Quatrain I 46, the one that foretold a fierce fire consuming distant lands and driving refugees across stormy seas, it is worth pausing to grasp the alchemy of his method, a physician-esque precision fused with a poet's heart, a scholar's research tempered by mystical intuition. In recent months, historians armed with advanced textual analysis software have unearthed new layers of meaning in his French and Latin originals, revealing how his subtle wordplay can shift interpretation, depending on contemporary events, almost as if he anticipated our need to continually rediscover his truth in the mirror of each new crisis. This living dialogue between past and present transforms Nostradamus from a dusty tome on a shelf into a resonant voice whispering through centuries, urging us to decode his riddles and perhaps to glimpse the turning wheels of fate still rolling toward our doorstep. Now, let us open the first page of Les and step into the blaze of Quatrain I 46, where that fierce, unrelenting fire awaits. Beneath the pale glow of the blue star's prophesied light, Nostradamus whispered of hope, nay, and the 3 hushed corners of the perennial realm were more fire than the north wind. would sweep down upon the ancient slopes, reducing villages to ember and ash, driving the terrified to flee toward open seas by makeshift vessels born of last-ditch desperation. Indeed, that harrowing vision has ripened into flesh and bone in our own era. Between 2020 and 2025, California's forests erupted into infernos, whose flames towered like living giants. Siberia's boreal expanses were engulfed in blazes unseen in modern memory, and the Amazon basin burned with a fury that stole the breath of distant cities. Each of these cataclysms an echo of the fierce fire, foretold a grim testament to the way our warming world now stokes nature's wrath beyond all precedent. In Europe, an unprecedented heat dome born of parched winds, spiraling from North Africa, sprawled across the continent in the sultry summer of 2025, driving Spain's mercury to 116 degrees Fahrenheit, wrestling Paris into a stifling 41 degrees Celsius, and even lifting the Alps' freezing line high above 16,000 feet, where glaciers wept under relentless sun. France's southwestern reaches, including the storied Pyrenean foothills, endured November nights so warm that the air pressed heavy and humid, minus 26.9 degrees Celsius. In towns that should have been dappled by crisp autumn chillfanks, to a fen effect that torched the air as it roared down the mountainsides. In these very valleys, vines wilted in the ground and livestock huddled in barns as smoke veiled the horizon. Villagers loaded what remained of their lives onto ferries bound for safer ports, their faces etched in soot and uncertainty, just as Nostradamus had foreseen. And yet, amid this crescendo of despair, there lies a flicker of hope. Firefighting brigades drawn from Spain and France now share innovations, drones mapping hotspots, AI models predicting ember showers, and cloud-seeding flights attempting to coax rain from reluctant skies, pushing back against the blaze with a tenacity that mirrors the human spirit's refusal to submit. As flames dance dangerously close to those Pyrenean hamlets, the Prophecies warning resonates not as myth but as a clarion call, to confront the ember-scarred slopes with sober resolve, to shelter our landscapes from the inferno's advance, and to remember that in the darkest hour of smoke and flame, it may be our collective courage, not some distant star that guides us to safe harbor. Beneath a shroud of midnight velvet, Nostradamus's words unfurl like an omen. The great star will burn for 7 days. The cloud will make 2 suns appear. The large mastiff will howl all night when the great pontiff changes his domain. In that cryptic stanza, he spoke of a comet blazing across our heavens for a full week, then of an eclipse splitting daylight into twin beacons, while a spectral hound S-cry echoed humankind's mounting dread, and all of this poised on the precipice of religious upheaval. That great star became flesh in 2022-23, when Comet C2022-E3 swelled in brilliance, its verdant glow arcing overhead for 7 nights as amateur astronomers and anxious dreamers alike searched the firmament for signs of destiny. Then came December 14, 2020, when the moon's shadow carved a path of darkness across South America, and by eclipse's apex the daytime sky fractured into 2 ghostly suns, an uncanny illusion mirrored again on April 8, 2024, as the United States fell under the umbra, strange luminosities dancing at the horizon where sky meets earth. Meanwhile, that large mastiff rumbled in every silent city. COVID-19's lockdowns struck in 2020, muting urban clamors and unleashing collective anxiety that howled through empty streets and closed doors. All night long, citizens pressed their foreheads against cold windows, listening for a heartbeat in the hush, even as biomedical pioneers raced against time to soothe the world's fever. And at the heart of this storm stood the great pontiff. His seat of power, appended as Pope Francis under Vatican lockdown, was forced to shift liturgies and audiences to digital altars, presiding over sacraments through flickering screens, an exile not from Rome's marble courts but from the very ritual rhythms that had bound believers for centuries. As the virtual masses swelled, the walls of tradition trembled, and church elders whispered of a new order forged by necessity rather than decree. Yet, in the wake of these celestial and terrestrial upheavals, hope glimmers like a distant star. Astronomers now harness AI to model comet trajectories and predict eclipse paths decades ahead, ensuring that the next cosmic visitor cannot take us unawares. Public health experts have built global surveillance networks that light up viral hotspots as soon as they spark, curbing howls of panic with rapid response. And the Vatican has embraced a hybrid ministry weaving virtual fellowship into centuries-old doctrine to bridge continents and time zones. Thus, what once seemed a prophecy of doom now hums with possibility. The very forces that threaten to rend our world apart have in turn galvanized us to innovate, to connect, and to rediscover the transcendent in both sky and soulry, minding us that even as two suns rise and a fiery star streaks overhead, our greatest salvation lies in the unity kindled by shared wonder and collective resolve. Beneath the hush of prophecy, Nostradamus's words take on a grim resonance. The eagle covering two fortified towers will believe the weapons to be buried. The Samnites and their allies will see death in a foreign land. From the ashes of Ground Zero rose the Department of Homeland Security, consolidating 22 federal agencies into a unified front against terror. The Patriot Act granted unprecedented surveillance powers, while NATO invoked Article 5 for the first time in its history, forging alliances against a new breed of Samnite shadowy networks of extremists who struck from distant sanctuaries. Yet amid this lingering dread, there is also a testament to human resilience. Survivor stories are woven into school curriculums, first responder protocols are drilled into emergency crews worldwide, and every passenger who logs onto a flight today carries, if only subconsciously, the weight of that prophecy fulfilled and the lesson it imparted. But its deeper warning of fortresses that crumble from within and enemies that lurk in unlikely guises remains, a living narrative in our age of hyperconnectivity and perpetual threats. Perhaps the greatest weapon we can wield against such dark predictions is unity, a global pact of shared intelligence, of compassion for those who suffer, and of steely resolve to never again entrust our fate to the illusion of impregnable walls. Airports became fortresses, body scanners and TSA pre-check lanes altered the ritual of travel, and in the skies, airborne early warning systems and drone patrols now quilt our borders with constant vigilance. In that dense tapestry of symbols, the eagle unmistakably evokes the United States, proud guardian of twin monoliths that rose like sentinels above New York Harbor Wind Towers, whose very names conjured invincibility. And yet the seer spoke of buried weapons, defenses so complete they lulled the mighty into complacency, blind to the threat brewing beyond their walls. When on a clear September morning in 2001 for commercial airliners became instruments of unspeakable violence piercing, steel cracking, concrete igniting, hellish infernos that painted the skyline in smoke and flame. The prophecy was ripped from the page and thrust into our collective nightmare. In those first moments of chaos, as firefighters raced up stairwells and strangers helped strangers escape the Twin Towers, collapsed in a thunderous roar that echoed around the world, symbolizing not just a physical fall, but a shattering of our complacent security. Yet the attack did not simply end in dust and sorrow. It sparked a relentless transformation in global defense and intelligence. 2 decades on, as we mark the 23rd anniversary of that grievous day, the prophecy's warning still hums beneath our modern routines. We have learned to scan our bags and watch our fellow passengers warily, to install biometric locks and deploy AI-driven analytics that sift through terabytes of data for the faintest flicker of a plot. While our allies range from friendly intelligence services to civilian volunteers, sharing threat reports in encrypted channels. Meanwhile, memorials stand silent, but eloquent along the Hudson's edge. The gleaming Freedom Tower, christened One World Trade Center, now soars where its predecessors tumbled. Its spire, a defiant promise that we rebuild stronger, not in spite of tragedy, but because of it. Still, each anniversary carries a quiet tension. Will another eagle be targeted? Will new Samnites strike with weapons we call invisible? Yet amid this lingering dread, there is also a testament to human resilience. Survivor stories are woven into school curriculums. First responder protocols are drilled into emergency crews worldwide, and every passenger who logs onto a flight today carries, if only subconsciously, the weight of that prophecy fulfilled and the lesson it imparted. Nostradamus's Quatrain may have foretold a singular catastrophe, but its deeper warning of fortresses that crumble from within and enemies that lurk in unlikely guises remains a living narrative. In our age of hyperconnectivity and perpetual threats, perhaps the greatest weapon we can wield against such dark predictions is unity. A global pact of shared intelligence, of compassion for those who suffer, and of steely resolve to never again entrust our fate to to the illusion of impregnable walls. Beneath the hushed veil of prophecy, Nostradamus's Quatrain X72 unfolds like a dirge for civilization. The fire will shake the new city. 26 towers will be laid low. Out of the sweet land they will come by sea. Yet human will rose from the ashes. One World Trade Center now pierces the skyline at 1,776 feet. Its crystalline spire, a testament to rebirth rather than ruin. And the 9/11's Memorial and Museum expanded in 2024 with a new subterranean gallery dedicated to personal testimonies has drawn over 7 million visitors by mid-2025, including an ever-steady stream of Italians who arrive each year aboard steely liners and sleek ferries, their footsteps echoing across the bronze parapets as they leave laurel wreaths in remembrance. Professor Eric Johnstone of the Sorbonne has marveled at the numerical convergence 26 towers and 26 structures, Feld arguing that such precision in an obscured 16th century text cannot be mere coincidence, while Dr. Anna Moretti of the University of Bologna contends that Nostradamus inscribed these details, deliberately encoding them as a cipher for ages yet unborn, to see the dwellings in a foreign land. In those 4 lines he conjures a new city, whether New York, Dubai, or some yet unnamed, metropolis trembling under a conflagration fierce enough to topple 26 spires of steel and glass, and he paints the survivors, drawn from Italia's fragrant shores, crossing oceans in pilgrim's lament to gaze upon smoking ruins. On the morning of September 11, 2001, history answered his words with brutal clarity. Hijacked airliners transformed pristine blue skies into a theater of flame, piercing the Twin Towers and shattering to dozens surrounding structures as fire and smoke choked lower Manhattan. Nearly 26 buildings in the World Trade Center complex were either destroyed or grievously damaged. From the soaring heights of 1 and 2 WTC to the lesser-known Deutsche Bank building, each collapse echoing the verse's solemn cadence in the aftermath amid clouds of dust and the anguished cries of first responders. The prophecy's shadow seemed to linger over ground zero. Yet human will rose from the ashes. One World Trade Center now pierces the skyline at 1,776 feet. Its crystalline spire a testament to rebirth rather than ruin, and the 9/11's Memorial and Museum expanded in 2024, with a new subterranean gallery dedicated to personal testimonies, has drawn over 7 million visitors by mid-2025. Including an ever-steady stream of Italians who arrive each year aboard steely liners and sleek ferries, their footsteps echoing across the bronze parapets as they leave laurel wreaths in remembrance. Professor Eric Johnstone of the Sorbonne has marveled at the numerical convergence 26 towers and 26 structures Feld, arguing that such precision in an obscured 16th century text cannot be mere coincidence, while Dr. Anna Moretti of the University of Bologna contends that Nostradamus inscribed these details deliberately, encoding them as a cipher for ages yet unborn. In today's hyper-connected world, the sweet land extends beyond Italy. Pilgrims now stream in from Rome, Milan, and Naples, but also from Tokyo and Sao Paulo. Guided by augmented reality apps that overlay archival footage onto crumbling foundations, and by AI-driven audio tours that recite survivors' memories in the very corridors where they once fled. This living museum transforms grief into teaching. School groups drill evacuation protocols using virtual simulations of the collapse. When the descendants of the Sweetland step ashore along the Hudson's edge, they do more than mourn. They bear witness to mankind's capacity for reconstruction, to the steel-reinforced hope that rose amid smoldering debris. And so, as One World Trade Center catches the dawn's first rays and the marble pools reflect a city reborn, we honor Nostradamus's vision, either dismissing it as quaint fantasy, nor surrendering to fatalism. And architects study the new, resilient steel used in the Freedom Tower's framework materials engineered to withstand heat well above the temperatures that felled the original edifices. Yet even as we honor memory, the prophecy calls us to vigilance. The Quatrain I's fire need not be literal flame alone, but any foreseen, climate-driven wildfire or missile strike capable of shaking our new cities to their foundations. Into darkness, a digital shockwave that flickered like phantom flames across Midtown's facades and served as a stark reminder that its steel towers remain vulnerable to invisible foes. As engineers retrofit aging networks and municipalities invest in underground microgrids, in the end, Quatrain X72 resonates not as a harbinger of defeat, but as a summons to remembrance and renewal. When the descendants of the sweet land step ashore along the Hudson's edge, they do more than mourn. They bear witness to mankind's capacity for reconstruction, to the steel-reinforced hope that rose amid smoldering debris. And so, as one World Trade Center catches the dawn's first rays, and the marble pools reflect a city reborn, we honor Nostradamus' vision, neither dismissing it as quaint fantasy nor surrendering to fatalism, but embracing it as a timeless call to safeguard our towers, our memories, and the fragile peace that binds us all. In the shadowed heart of Nostradamus' chronicle lie his most incendiary utterances, 3 quatrains, that, like embers glowing in a dying hearth, refuse to be extinguished by time. First comes Quatrain V52, in which empty treasuries groan beneath the weight of ruin, while black gold surges in value. They speak of his allegorical mastery, how he wove economic collapse, pandemic scourge, and where war is waged in bytes and megatons rather than billionets. The final 3 quatrains burn with renewed urgency. They beckon us to peer beyond the veil of the present and to confront the possibility that history is a spiral, not a line. Each cycle of upheaval echoing the last, each catastrophe forging the crucible in which the next is born. And as we stand at the crossroads of monetary turbulence, microbial threat, and high-tech arms races, we must choose whether to interpret these prophecies as a fatalistic verdict or as a call to arms, to inscribe our own chapter of resilience, innovation, and peace before the next burst of light rends our skies. And mechanized warfare into a single mosaic of apocalypse and renewal, each piece reflecting the other in a hall of mirrors. Skeptics, however, led by voices like Dr. John Hogue, counter that the quatrain's cryptic brevity and archaic vocabulary allow for any calamity to be superimposed after the fact. A psychological Rorschach for collective fears. Translator Maria Pappas reminds us that every medieval French term can drift through multiple senses. Black gold might denote oil, or ink, or even a moral taint, while strange sickness could be spiritual malaise as much as microbial terror-inviting, each generation to decode the verses in its own image. Yet perhaps it is precisely this slipperiness, this refractive quality, that grants Nostradamus' S-words their undying power. They are never so rigid as to be falsified, nor so vague as to disappear into oblivion. A vision at once ancient and achingly modern. We have seen hollowed coffers cripple nations in 2008. And in the tumult of 2022, oil prices spiked to levels not felt since the Arab Spring, when global supply chains buckled under the strain of pandemic lockdowns and geopolitical strife. Today, as central banks grapple with stubborn inflation and energy markets teeter on the knife, edge oil flirting once more with six-figure dollar figures per barrel amid renewed Middle Eastern tensions. The prophecy pulse beats louder than ever. Then, in Quatrain 762, Nostradamus conjures a strange sickness from the east, spreading via ports, sowing terror. Words that resonate with haunting clarity. The SARS outbreak startled Asia in 2003. COVID-19 brought the world to its knees in 2020, and even now in mid-2025. Epidemiologists warn of emergent H5N1 and novel coronavirus variants stalking our urban centers. Ports and airports, their unseen march, stoking fresh waves of anxiety and sparking emergency drills that were once relegated to fiction. Every deserted street, every masked face, each frantic race for a vaccine or antiviral is a pulse in the tapestry of that ancient warning. And then there is Quatrain X19, where the sky will burst into light. Explosions echo 100 miles, evoking images of a global conflagration waged with instruments of silent precision drones swarming like mechanical locusts, hypersonic missiles cleaving the horizon in a heartbeat, and nuclear arsenals bristling with a menace that could turn cities into ghost towns at dawn's first light. The drone campaigns raging over Ukraine since 2022, the recent Chinese tests of DF-41 missiles capable of intercontinental reach, and the ongoing debate over tactical nuclear deployments all strike an eerie chord with the seer. S-lines, as though his quill traced the blueprint for a war, fought not with marching legions, but with the unseen hum of rotor blades and the flash of vapor trails. Supporters of the prophecy point to these uncanny parallels as proof that Nostradamus embedded within his verses a cipher of future calamities. Each quatrain, a coordinate on a map of events yet unformed. In the crucible of our age, where economic battlegrounds shift by the tick of a market index, where viruses traverse hemispheres on a jet stream, and where war is waged in bytes and megatons rather than bayonets, the final three quatrains burn with renewed urgency. They beckon us to peer beyond the veil of the present and to confront the possibility that history is a spiral. Not a lineage cycle of upheaval echoing the last, each catastrophe forging the crucible in which the next is born. And as we stand at the crossroads of monetary turbulence, microbial threat, and high-tech arms races, we must choose whether to interpret these prophecies as a fatalistic verdict or as a call to arms, to inscribe our own chapter of resilience, innovation, and peace before the next burst of light rends our skies. Under the gathering dusk of human history, Nostradamus stands, revealed not merely as a plague-era physician, but as a timeless oracle, whose quatrains continue to ripple through our collective consciousness, sparking visions of infernos, devouring forests, comets blazing 7 nights overhead, phantom suns splitting the sky, and the eagle's towers crashing in flame and steel. Next week, we will journey into her shadowed realm, decoding her forecasts of shifting borders, mysterious vanishings, and uncanny medical breakthroughs, and weigh them against the headlines of 2025. From emergent AI marvels to the fragile peace in geopolitics. Will her words ring true in our time of rapid change, or dissolve into the mists of interpretation? Prepare to follow the trail of her enigmatic utterances as we unravel the threads that bind past and future. Hit the notification bell now, and don't miss our next adventure into the heart of Baba Vanga's mystic prophecies, where every revelation might reshape the way we see tomorrow. From California's unprecedented wildfires of 2025 to the eerie ghostlight of Comet C 2022 E3, from the silent streets of pandemic lockdowns to the digital specters haunting our power grids, each verse has found its echo in our age's most turbulent chapters. Yet even as 7 of his most enigmatic prophecies have materialized in ways both startling and precise, countless others lie waiting in the dusty folds of his centuries. Their meanings obscured by archaic phrasing and centuries of reinterpretation, how many quatrains still elude our grasp? What hidden calamities or miracles might they portend in the years ahead? As you peer into your own night sky or watch the towers of glass and concrete that are cities, consider this. Which of Nostradamus's veiled visions will manifest next? Will black gold surge again under economic upheaval, or will a new viral threat rise from distant ports? Might our skies once more roar with the hum of drones or the flash of unseen weapons? If the past half-millennium has taught us anything, it is that prophecy is a mirror reflecting both our deepest fears and our capacity for resilience. So, mystery seekers, I challenge you to sift through the quatrains with fresh eyes, compare them to the headlines of today, weigh them against the data of tomorrow, and decide for yourselves whether Nostradamus was a mere throwback to medieval superstition or a prescient voice reaching across time. If this voyage through cryptic verses and modern marvels stirred your imagination, if it unsettled you with what-ifs and filled you with awe at the uncanny correspondence between past and present, then lend your voice to the conversation. Like this video, subscribe for more journeys into the unknown, and comment below with the quatrain that chills you most, or the one you believe remains unsolved. And share this odyssey with fellow explorers who dare to seek the secrets woven into the fabric of fate. Beneath the whispering veil of history lies another seer whose voice trembles with prophecy. Baba Vanga, the blind mystic of Eastern Europe, whose cryptic visions have both haunted and guided generations. Next week, we will journey into her shadowed realm, coding her forecasts of shifting borders, mysterious vanishings, and uncanny medical breakthroughs, and weigh them against the headlines of 2025. From emergent AI marvels to the fragile peace in geopolitics. Will her words ring true in our time of rapid change, or dissolve into the mists of interpretation? Prepare to follow the trail of her enigmatic utterances as we unravel the threads that bind past and future. Hit the notification bell now, and don't miss our next adventure into the heart of Baba Vanga's mystic prophecies, where every revelation might reshape the way we see tomorrow.